Government spending is skyrocketing. Debt levels, too. Waste and inefficiency are growing concerns. Sounds like a modern story? Think again. This is the story of Harry Truman, a once little-known senator from the backwaters of Missouri. The scene is 1940. The U.S. government had begun spending massively on preparations for World War II. History has painted the domestic war effort in a rosy light, literally, and indeed it did ultimately save the world and lift the U.S. economy out of depression. All true, but there were some growing pains. Keep in mind the U.S. government had never before spent so much money. Before 1940, the federal budget was roughly $9 billion, and there were just 600,000 civilian employees. By 1945, the budget had grown 10 times, and the civilian workforce had grown beyond 3 million, larger than it is today. A flood of first-time government spending was being met by a flood of first-time government contractors. The so-called military-industrial complex was taking form. At first, things were rough. Too few processes and standards and too little accountability. Truman, smelling foul, took himself on a very long road trip, traveling the country to investigate factories, shipyards, and military bases. Wherever he looked, he found inefficiency, waste, and even fraud. And the stakes were high. Ships were built that couldn't float. Tanks were built that soldiers said were made of tinfoil. Truman sprang into action, setting up the Senate Special Committee to investigate the National Defense Program, aka the Truman Committee. Truman and his committee saved the country a fortune, close to $250 billion in today's dollars. Today, the Department of Defense, DoD, has a budget of over $800 billion, and the military-industrial complex has had a real glow-up. But the legacy of Truman's committee persists. Today's wannabe contractors have many hoops to clear, like meeting IT and staff security requirements and navigating limits on the use of foreign subcontractors. As a result, it's simply not that easy to be a defense contractor. The largest few, called the primes, like Lockheed Martin, Raytheon, and Northrop Grumman, have cracked the code, and as a result, they get most of the business, over 40% collectively. Times may be changing, however. Other familiar names are working with the DoD, like SpaceX, Palantir, Amazon, and Google. And more smaller companies and startups are too. It's time to open up the box that is DoD. And while we can't promise smooth sailing through the purchasing process, we can promise some clarity into how this massive, sprawling organization works. We'll cover the people and organizations of the DoD, how the DoD is funded, the basics of purchasing at DoD, considerations for working with DoD, and the latest trends.